In this video, we're going to be looking at some abandoned raised beds that have been unkept for over a month. We just got back from a trip to Europe and we were gone for a month, and it's been another couple of weeks since we've been back and I still haven't touched anything because I'm waiting for this video. And so it has been a long time since I've done anything to these raised beds, and I just want to see with you what's happened to an abandoned bed. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. Hello and welcome to Bowtie Life. This is the Bowtie Gardens, and if you don't know me, if you haven't been here before, I am Bowtie David. You can see my name tag. Anyway, this video, as is the past 3 years worth of videos, are my own personal log of what's going on in the garden. This is how I kind of keep track of what happens from year to year and what's growing, what's not growing, what works, what doesn't work. And so really, you're just invited along to see what's going on in my journal and see what I'm learning, because I learn a lot out here. I'm still a new gardener, a little slow sometimes. I have ADHD and kind of makes me hard to learn things, and so I tend to be a slow walk, but I'll eventually get there kind of person. But I've tried. I keep trying, and I keep trying things, and sometimes I forget, and I have to try it again the next year. But these videos give me a chance to go back and look and say, oh yeah, that did work. And so you're welcome to join me along on these videos. While you're watching, if you have any questions, or please, if you have any experience you would like to share, please share them in the comments below. Ask in the comments below. I love hearing from y'all. I love interacting with y'all. Y'all give me great ideas. I've learned so much from comments on past videos that it's just very gratifying to know that we can work together and come to some good. And I'm trying to share what I've learned here with anyone that's out there, and would love to hear from you the same if you come up with that. As far as the weather, and I talk about the weather frequently because this is my record and it kind of gives me an idea. I know at the beginning of a lot of these videos I have weather information, and there's been a significant change from the outer garden bed tour in that we're about to have some cool weather, and we may get down to the mid 40s, like 48 degrees maybe 46 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'll put on the bottom here what that is in Celsius. But I'm very excited because we might be seeing the changes in the weather, and we're looking in the 2-week forecast, and we might be getting it again next weekend as well. This is Wednesday, November 20th, and it's beautiful today. It's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. We still, November 20th, we still have not gone below 58 degrees Fahrenheit, or I know this one is 14.4 Celsius, and we're this late into the year and it still has not gotten below that point. Now, why is that? Okay, so here we are in Destin, Florida. We are actually out on a peninsula surrounded by water. You can see by this map right here, and over in that direction behind me, in front of the camera, is the Gulf of Mexico. And in that direction, behind the camera, in front of me, is the very large Choctawhatchee Bay. And it's a very large body of water. And our water out here has a temperature right now of 74 degrees. I checked it this morning. It's been going down nice and steady, which is wonderful. But it has a tendency that as this wind blows across that water, it becomes closer to the temperature of the water. So over there on the other side of the bay, it might be 30s, maybe 38 degrees, even close down to freezing. By the time it gets here, it can be 15 to 20 degrees warmer just across the water, especially if it's blowing across the surface. So the weather is very important here, but it's also important to know for us the water temperature, because that's going to affect that weather. So I can actually look at the weather over there and I can see their temperatures, and I can look at our weather and see our temperatures are going to be a lot more mild which is why we've not reached below 58 degrees Fahrenheit, 14.4 degrees Celsius this year yet. So it's kind of interesting. Mrs. Bowtie and I both, we watch our weather every single morning over our coffee, and we love studying it. So yeah, that's the weather. We're about to start getting cool. It's going to be great to see what happens. We'll talk about the Luffa out here. The Luffa has occupied a lot of time on this channel this year, and I have a feeling that this week, these next 2 weeks, are going to have a lot of effect on those Luffa, and they'll be drying out, and they'll be getting ready to harvest, which, folks, I'm very excited about. I can't wait for that to happen. So, anyway, we're looking at the raised beds. Seemed like there was one of the, oh, yeah, and we did get the rain here in the past few days. It was chucking down rain. In fact, that video was taken right behind where I'm standing here, and you can look off to the left side where the rain is not just dripping off, it's flowing off the roof. And it was just chucking down the rain, something fierce. Yesterday, that's the remnants of Hurricane Sarah, and that's the hurricane that's way down in the Gulf of Mexico, but the remnants are kind of getting sucked up to this area, and gave us the rain, but that cold front is pushing it off. It's just going to be gorgeous. Very excited about that. So, would like to remind you, if you find this video at all entertaining, informational, educational, maybe inspirational. A lot of times I get inspiration from these garden tours. Please click the thumbs up, share this video on your social media, and for those of you who have subscribed, I want to say thank you so much for subscribing. We are continuing to grow, and you guys, you folks, have made it what it is today. So, moving right along, we have right here under my arm, we have our GreenStalk vertical planter, and I believe I might have let slip that we have 2 more of these going in the spring. I'm very excited about that. There is not a lot of change in here. One thing I will point out, let me get a better one than that. These are just weeds, but if I pull it out, I want to show you how moist this soil is. And yeah, this soil is actually still very moist because I have hooked into my irrigation this little tube that just fills this top, and it trickles down through the whole thing. So this soil is still wet, it's still alive, it's still in good condition. There are a few things in here. This right here, I believe, was a broccoli. There are cauliflower in here that are long spent. I'm leaving them in here, well, 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm just lazy. Number 2, I'm just curious to see what it does and how it grows. And here it is. This was planted a year ago from seed. It was put in here. It grew. It developed a nice little cauliflower, and it was tasty. We like cauliflower. But there's still stuff growing out of this, and I've just never seen anything like this. I always thought of this as an annual. I'm wondering if it'll survive the winter. And this cauliflower here, I don't think it's going to give me any more florets or anything, but I'm just kind of curious to see what it does. I do have a, this is a Dino Kale. There's a bug on there. And it never grew very big. These Dino Kale leaves grow really big. But this one never grew very big. Doesn't taste great. It's a little tough. Doesn't have the nice Dino Kale flavor to it. I heard years ago, Jess over at Roots and Refuge said that if you ever thought you didn't like kale but you think you might want to like it, start with Dino Kale. And real Dino Kale, it grows these big leaves. It actually tastes wonderful. And I've not been a kale eater, but I am now. I eat Dino Kale. We have one plant. Do we just have one plant left over? I think we may only have one plant left over in the garden, and that's out front. You can see, should be able to see that. Actually, you can see that in the front and side garden tour for this month. It looks beautiful. It's been picked up and it's been tied into place, so it's growing in the right direction now. I think in that video it was actually laying over on its side. But anyway, so that's the Dino Kale. I'll eventually clean this up and we'll plant more stuff in here. With our trip that we just took, a lot of things didn't happen. So we're just kind of we just take it one step at a time. I call what I do chaos gardening, and that's kind of where you just plant things where they land. And I really believe very strongly in letting nature do nature's thing. When you look at nature out in the woods, it doesn't grow in neat rows. It just kind of grows where it lands. And I know I do some neat rows, but sometimes it just kind of lands where it may. And some things survive and some things don't. I'm of the mind that if something is so stubborn that it's going to try to live even after a year of not living, and you're going to see that in bed number 3 here, I'm of the mind to let that thing grow, simply put, and and see what it's going to do. It's an education. It's always learning. So anyway, this is our GreenStalk. It is a wonderful system. Like I said, we've got 2 more being added in the spring. Mrs. Bowtie has requested a couple more in a certain location, so be sure and subscribe so you don't miss where we're going to put the new ones. And she wants flowers in them, so I think it's petunias, purple, can't remember exactly. We'll probably do a mix of flowers and a few strawberries in it as well. So they're great for strawberries, they're great for a lot of things. Not too crazy about it for the kale, because it just didn't seem to allow space for the kale to grow very big. Parsley, in fact, let me turn this around and bring the parsley into frame. This big old monster is parsley, and there are actually seed heads in here. Now very carefully pop off this seed head. All these little brown things here, this is full of seeds. And what we can do with this is we can literally spread this into another bin. And I can see all the seeds going in there and shuffle that around. Parsley's going to grow here in the spring, guaranteed. It'll stay nice and stored, and when it's ready, it's going to start growing. So it's as simple as that to save seeds. I love saving seeds. I love repopulating things as we go along here and seeing what comes of it. So it's very exciting for me to see new things grow from what we've already grown, and it's just repopulating. Oh, there's a strawberry right there. Ooh, squirrel. Oh, there's another there's several strawberries in here. Good, I'm glad to see that, because you're going to see here in a little bit where I want to put a strawberry bed this next year. So, that being said, and the first raised thing covered, let's move on to the raised bed. So you can see the sun is up there through the tree, and it is getting ready to set, so we are going to have to kind of move right along here because the sun sets early this time of year. Seems like it's getting earlier and earlier. I joke. It really is getting earlier and earlier. We are here in bed number 1, of course. If you've ever watched any of my garden tours, you know that we always start right here, and we have some zinnias in here looking very brown. We've saved a lot of seeds. We've saved so many seeds from these zinnias, these giant zinnias. We have enough to plant a whole acre, I think. There's a video on that you can go look at. But I did want to come around here and show you the blackberries. Now, all this growing through here is blackberry vines. We have a lot more here this year than we did last year. In fact, some of these things grew 3 to 4 feet, maybe even a little more, in the month that we were gone. And all I do is I come in here and I just weave them through the trellis here. And I do want to point out this right here, this one that's cut off right here. Now, look at this, it's got things here. Let me show you what this looked like before. In fact, this was about almost, 2 weeks ago that I pulled this vine out, and it was rooted in on the end, so it had a ball of roots on the end of it there. And these leaves, if you look carefully, you can see the leaves were growing backwards from that root, that ball of roots. And so, give me a second to try to get this thing fed up through here. But I finally got this thing fed through here with one hand, and I got this thing cut off. I just cut off the last few inches there, so where it's going to be growing these again. And look what happened here. I cut off that root right there. Okay. Since that, in 2 weeks, this has grown, completely grown. this here has completely grown. Those weren't there before. This here is starting to grow. So it's going to just take off. It wants to grow, people. It wants to develop. It wants to provide us with our food. Well, it wants to reproduce, and that's what it's trying to get to, is make those berries with the seeds in them. So these blackberries are just going to be prolific this year. We had amazing blackberries this past spring. If you didn't see any of those videos, we had a total of 14 people here harvesting blackberries from these vines, these and the ones over on the other side in the outer garden tour. It was very exciting. So anyway, all blackberries up in here. It'll start flowering here in a few months. Follow along, subscribe so you don't miss any of those garden tours, because I think it's just beautiful to see the flowers as they're coming out. So back down here to bed number 1. This is the beginning here. And we are looking at the ginger and turmeric bed. And this is all ginger. Now you'll notice the ginger is starting to turn brown in the leaves, which means it's coming close to harvest time. In fact, I have a feeling that by the next garden tour, I might be able to leave these that long. If I cannot, I will be doing a special video on harvesting ginger. Did I say garlic? I meant ginger. This is ginger. And if I come down here, there's a lot of leaves down here right now, and that's okay. They're kind of protecting the goods down here. But if I pull back these, look that's all ginger right there. That is all ginger. Good ginger. Big, huge hand, a big old hunk of ginger goes from there all the way over to here. Like 10 inches worth of ginger right there. And I don't even know what's underneath the soil right there. So we've got several ginger plants. I've never grown so many. The cool thing is, and I showed this in a short because I got so excited, is that, you know, when I first planted ginger, how long have I been growing? I think this is the 4th year I've been growing ginger. 3rd or 4th year. I think it's the 4th year that I've been growing ginger. I didn't even realize back then that ginger would bloom. But this is a ginger bloom right here, and I'm very excited to see what it does. And there will be shorts. I'll make a short or something on this and see how pretty it looks. Now this is an edible ginger. I know that because I bought this ginger at Whole Foods, I think it was, and they sell it as edible. Well, it's all edible. Some of it doesn't taste as good as other, but it's all supposed to be edible. And anyway, so you can just buy this stuff, the organic ginger from the store, and plant it. Maybe one day I'll actually know what kind of cultivar I have and do more. But anyway, further along here down, you can see here is another bloom that's coming out, and that looks just so neat. It's kind of softish. I can tell there's flower matter inside there. So, and then there's even another one. These are the 3 that I showed on the video. I have not looked very hard for more, but I suspect there will be more. This is the first time I've had my ginger bloom, so I'm really excited to see this and see what happens. I knew it would bloom now. I actually have a client that has a whole lot of ginger in his yard. It's not the tastiest kind, but it's still edible. And his grows 12 foot tall and has massive blooms on it. That's where I learned about 3 years ago that it actually blooms. So that was kind of cool. That is these thin leaf ones. And now all of these wider leafed plants like this right here, this is turmeric. And if you look very carefully, I'm going to see if I can get, well, I'm going to have to go over to that other side because what I want to show you is over there. Now last month we actually harvested a turmeric with a big bloom like this, and it was not a very impressive harvest. In fact, the turmeric was a little bit white. It wasn't developed. It didn't have a lot of flavor, and so yeah, I just didn't keep it because I didn't think it was that great. I decided I was going to leave the turmeric longer and let it develop further so that we can see what it's going to do. But these are turmeric plants, and there's little fingers of turmeric growing deep under the ground here. So we'll have to see what happens there. Oh, I see another, right down here, I see another ginger bloom down there. That's cool. Anyway, So that flower is just, I think, is very cool on the turmeric. And I actually took the flower that we harvested and I stuck it in a vase, and it stayed beautiful for a surprisingly long time, in fact. So the jungle of blackberries. Let's get on it back over to the other side and take a look at the next section. So this is the other side of the blackberry jungle, and you can see it's just a mass of blackberry vines in here that I've been feeding through and encouraging to grow. In fact, I see one right here that I need to, it's already rooted down there. Nope. Oh goody, it has not. I will need to, oh yeah, it did a little bit. See right there, just like that other one we looked at earlier. It's already developed roots. I'll cut that off and I'll make those leaves grow the other way by feeding it up the trellis and growing in another direction. But these are actually going to be over this area. I do want to, you'll notice I have some bamboo, random bamboo. I've got more bamboo to put up here, and I want to have occasional blackberries to produce some shade for the strawberry patch down here. Now, this has completely been unkept for a while now, and I am very no, I'm not embarrassed. I'm a little disappointed in how bad it's turned out. There's a lot of stuff here, but you'll notice the soil is nice and moist still. Oh, this ivy is just something fierce. Oh, there's another blackberry vine. We'll have to get that out of there. This ivy, though, is just fiercely aggressive. And I knew we had some in here, but boy, after a month away and then another couple of weeks of not caring for it, we'll feed that up through the trellis too. But it's really overgrown, something thick in here, and I'll just need to get in here and get all this ivy out, pull the weeds. So, oh my goodness, look how much ivy is in there. This leaf flower plant right here is huge. It goes way over there. I can't even get to the bottom of it from here. But we'll get this all cleaned out, get it filled back up. You'll notice, in fact, you can see here the soil is actually down about 8 inches, which is less than it was last year. This bed is filled mostly with compost, and I have been trying to get more structural stuff in here and getting more soil, more sand in here so that it can have good structure and a good place for biome to grow, etc. So this will be a cared for bed in the next month or two, and hopefully we'll start seeing some good coming out of this. I'd love to see a few strawberries put in here so that we can get it started. You space them out real wide, get 5 or 6 strawberry plants in an area this big. By the end of next year, it will be fully populated. In fact, if you go back and look at the one of the earliest garden tours, you can see how sparsely the strawberries were in the front bed, and I actually overpopulated that bed in the course of 2 years up front. Sometimes this year, I have felt like I have been talking about this topic too much, but I assure you it will be coming to an end, hopefully by the time of the next garden tour. But Luffa, and you've seen the Luffa. It's actually growing in the outer bed. It's started on a trellis over here, and it's taken over everything. And I've been experimenting with harvesting, and now this is a little bit smaller one, but you can see how it's turning brown here, and we'll have a video on this later. You'll see how it's turning brown on the side, and it's actually getting really dry inside. And you can see there's that loofah sponge. That's what you take a shower with. It's a gourd, people, okay? And what I want to show you here is, okay, so it's hanging like this from a very, very strong vine. So it's encouraged to hang with this side pointed down. And what happens is, as this thing gets knocked about with the wind and everything else, which we have the wind today, this bottom is a cap that pops off. And the seeds inside there, as this dries out, will start falling on the ground, and it'll start reseeding itself. It's craziness. And so Luffa is designed, it's designed as a reproduction monster. And so Anyway, so I've been experimenting with this, and when they're this dry, they peel real easy. The sponge comes out of here real easy. I don't want to get too far because I don't want those seeds to start coming out. But I've had a few that have rotted. This one here was rotten, ew. And then you can see here behind me, I mean, these things are enormous. I've got a bunch of these. I've been experimenting with harvesting them this green. In fact, you can see here on the rack in the Florida room, there's a few of these sitting in front of a fan. This biggest one right here is 21 inches long. It's a monster. That was the one that hung at the other end of the shade cloth down here that I showed several times. I finally harvested it. But anyway, and you can see over on the table here, there's a lot still too. But anyway, so this one here, I can feel it's still got a bit of weight to it. It's still got a lot of water in it. And I'm hoping that with the next 2 weeks being fairly cool and dry weather, that these things are going to start losing a lot of their water and hopefully be ready to harvest. Now, this is the kind of thing I've been experimenting with. You notice how the skin is a lot lighter here. This, the whole thing is even lighter. And if I take this and cut it off, excuse me just a second while I close that so I don't skewer myself, but I can stick my finger in here and I can force this thing open, and it does have some of the structure of the loofah in here. In fact, it has all the structure of the loofah in here. It's big enough, but it's still real moist. So I don't know if it's better to harvest this and peel these at this stage, because this is a zipper skin. It comes right off, and it's very easy to get this off. Now it still has the seeds wet inside there, and I'm wondering if maybe if I dry them out faster without this skin on here and then just beat them on the table to get the seeds out, I don't know if that's going to be a better way to do this. So I'm experimenting with that. Hopefully by the time we do our big harvest video coming up here, hopefully in the next few weeks, it might be 6 weeks away, but I'll have a good conclusion and have these things figured out. But now these are the same things that we ate for zucchini, people. I've had a hard time growing zucchini, and I grew 5 of these, and we ate more of these than, you know, you eat so much squash throughout the spring, and you get tired of it, right? Well, we got tired of it, and then Mrs. Bowtie wanted a few more, and we got a couple more, like in end of July, August. And then we got tired of it again. I think there's 2 more sitting in the fridge that I saw growing, but they're still growing small ones on these vines. It's amazing. But I mean, these things it's growing prolifically. So anyway, I'm experimenting with this. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the results of this. I'm very excited. I think we're going to have right around 300 gourds total. So I was planning for something big. That just blew my mind away. And incidentally, I showed the video of the gourds growing over here in the neighbor's backyard and talked about how we call it Audrey 2 or Audrey 3 because it's eating everything, including this 17-foot tall tree trunk that's about 4 foot across at the base. But anyway, my neighbor and I talked for 2 years before I actually planted these about doing something like this. He planted the birdhouse gourds that have grown into my yard, and they've kind of coexisted together. It's been very interesting. But anyway, so don't think that I just grew my stuff into his yard without discussing it with him. He's a gardener also. So anyway, let's see where these things take us. Subscribe, find out, watch for that video on the Great Luffa Harvest. And I have something planned for it that I'm a little excited about. So look forward to seeing you there. So that's the end of bed number 1. We have here the pear tree. I don't know if it's a decorative pear. I've never gotten anything useful off of this. I am allowing the blackberry vines to grow through it and continue through it. It's acting as a support for these, and I will continue fishing them over in this direction to give these things support. Luffa everywhere. Oh my goodness. Wait till you see what's down here in just a little bit. We have in bed number 2 now. There you can see bed number 2. Now I have, folks, Okay, I cut the grass. Yes, I did. We have company coming and I had to get grass cut. But we have our, I believe this is an Everglades tomato. I am almost positive this thing will grow these little tomatoes all over the place. We've eaten a couple, but I have a feeling this thing is about to explode. It's going to like this weather, and we're going to see so much more. I can see a dozen of them right here as I'm just looking. So this Everglades tomato, I can see more than that. There's a couple dozen in there. These Everglades tomatoes are looking great. More zinnias. I tell you what, the butterflies in these zinnias have been amazing. Here's a little clip of a couple of the Fertility Queen butterfly, I think. It's the one that gets mistaken for a monarch. I did see a monarch here. In fact, I just saw one today, but I didn't have my camera out, and he was heading somewhere with a purpose. So I did not get that. Anyway, been loving though these zinnia, and there's so many seeds here, folks. I could still save seeds, and I may. Some of these just look so fantastic. We did have a lot of rain, and I might let these things try to dry a little bit more tonight, and maybe come out and pick some more of these dead heads up so I can get more flowers. We'll go look at those little red things over there in just a minute. This is the bean trellis, of course, and we're going to talk about some of the mistakes I made growing this Luffa, and one of them is this Luffa took over up here, and it really actually did a lot of damage to the bean plants. Though we did get about 2 servings of beans off of this. It was not great, folks. It was not great. In fact, I'm looking down here right now to see if there's any more beans, because I think I left a couple small ones to grow, and they should be about ready. I am looking. I don't see it right now. Yeah. Anyway, there's supposed to be a couple more beans in here that I could harvest. Mrs. Bowtie wants to cook those up here pretty soon. Look at just Luffa. Oh, they're even sitting up on top. Luffa. Okay, I'll stop saying Luffa. I can't promise that though. Anyway, let's go over to the other side. The beans. Oh, this is an old carrot plant here. Looks like it's going to seed. Wonder what kind this is. That's a big old carrot down inside there. Probably a bit woody. All right. There's supposed to be a tag in here to tell me what this is. I don't feel it. Okay. Well, anyway, here we go. Let's go look at the hot peppers on the other side. I feel a lot safer on this side. I'm not going to hit my head on Luffa. Oh, I said it again. So this is the Peppadew peppers, and these things, they serve these things in gourmet restaurants. It's kind of a low level of heat. Now these leaves are starting to get a little yellow. I have not fed these things at all, so it might be a lack of feed. It might be the season is changing. I do plan on overwintering some of these peppers, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the video on overwintering peppers. I did it last year with a great success. It was my best year ever of overwintering peppers. I'm very excited to try it again this year. Hopefully we can get these things a little healthier before we do that. But I mean, these Peppadew are just delicious. The heat on them is rather mild. It's supposed to be less than a jalapeno. Now that one's got just a gloss of green right there. Supposed to be less than a jalapeno, but you start letting them get too red, they're pretty equal to a jalapeno. Let's see how much danger I can get into here. Okay, JD, this is how you eat a pepper. Okay. That has some heat to it. They do get heat in them. The restaurant where Pear and I discovered those. They served them green and red, sauteed a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that's a good pepper. Okay. Let's go on with this tour. Woo! I have a feeling it's going to be tough. So yeah, there's at least 2 Peppadew plants in here. Underneath here, there's supposed to be a couple of Thai hot peppers. I'm not going to eat another one of those today. I already just had a very hot pepper. Another Peppadew. Another dragon cayenne plant right there. And then 3 more Peppadew plants. Oh, they taste so good though. Oh my goodness. These things taste amazing. Great flavor. My goodness. Great flavor. So that's the Peppadew. That's our first row of peppers in bed number 2. Come down here. I still have one little basil plant plugging along here. I'll occasionally pick off the top. These were Supersweet 100 growing here. I think the only thing we have left in this area is a single Everglades tomato from the other side right there, that other trellis, just a foot over there. So that's bed number 2. Let's look at what's between here. So my mouth is burning a bit, but yeah, there's a few Luffa sitting up there. Look at all the, anyway, that's the outer garden over there. Go look at the outer garden bed tour. For the rest of that, the aloe this year, this is the aloe that blooms yellow. I do not see any bloom stalks this year. Didn't see any last year. And since the freeze, I hadn't seen any bloom stalks from these aloe, but I'm letting them go. We're gonna hopefully get some more propagation out here. I'd like to get in here with a shovel and start organizing these better. Maybe putting some of these in beds. So our hot pepper bed. This first one right here on the corner in bed number 3. This is a Fatali. It's one of my less pleasant ones. Very hot. I wouldn't call it jet fuel, but boy, it's spicy. But it's a late bloomer. It's really interesting because it didn't do anything until near the end of the season. September, October, it finally started coming out with green peppers. But it was my first 300,000 Scoville pepper that I grew, so I still have it around. Probably will continue to have at least one of them. There's another one down the other end you'll see here in a minute. Oh, excuse me. That Peppadew pepper had some spice in it. Of course, anybody who's grown these will recognize these as tabasco. A wonderful pepper. It's what they make Tabasco sauce with. My Tabasco sauce is a whole lot better now. I ended up, I eat hot sauce every morning with my eggs. I ended up being stuck with Tabasco sauce for 2 weeks on the Disney cruise ship and realized why mine is so much better. It has a real vinegary taste and I didn't like it. These are some jalapeno travelers. They're a smaller jalapeno, but they do have some good heat. Some of you may know the scotch bonnet, the Jamaican pepper. These are starting to be spent, and I haven't really dressed this at all, but there are a lot of dead ones on here that I need to take off if am I expecting it to go anywhere. And I do want to show you this jalapeno plant over here on the other side. That thing is just beautiful. I think this is a jalapeno traveler also. It's relatively small, but we'll be picking all of these for home group come tomorrow night on the 21st. So anyone from home group watching this, that's the jalapenos we were eating, because by the time this video comes out, yeah. So this right here is a peri. I don't remember there being a peri over here, but yeah, we got a peri right here. Wonder if that's one of the new ones I did. Down here, it looks like we have another mammoth jalapeno growing. I do remember planting that. That's kind of cool that finally took. This is a peri from last year that's still growing this year. It stayed in the same place. Now, when we overwinter the peppers, I'm actually going to be pulling all the pepper plants. You can see that soil is down 16, 18 inches from where it used to be. I have not put any new soil in here in like 2.5 years. These things were planted, some of these peppers were planted, these peri, especially right here, were planted in July 22nd of 2022. So here it is, the end of 24. So these things are almost 2.5 years old. They stayed in this bed. I didn't want to supplement any soil, So I didn't do anything to the bed, but I did cover this with a little low tunnel. And you can go back and look at some of the videos from last fall, from a year ago, and see that low tunnel. This is a peri. Now these peri normally are a bit larger than this, so these are kind of small, just a little bit small, but they still have a great amount of spice to them. We do have another mammoth jalapeno. I don't know if there's, oh yeah, looky here. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, we're gonna stuff some of these jalapenos for home group. Whew, tomorrow night. That little thing right there, that is the other Fatali. I actually see buds coming out on it over there. Very excited. It will get overwintered. Now we're going to overwinter these. So what that means is we're going to be digging them out of the ground and putting them inside and taking care of them in a dormant state for the winter. Come spring, February, March, somewhere in there, we'll be putting them back out into one of these beds somewhere. So after, of course, we have filled the bed with soil again. But that is a Fatali bud right there. So I'm very excited to see that actually coming. Oh, hey, there I am. Okay. Oh, very excited to see that. But look at all these peri under here. Isn't that just amazing? Now, they may be smaller, but I've never had that many. That is just mind-blowing to me. So from the other side of the peri plant right there, we have this bed that's kind of remained, I don't know, a mess. And like I can see here is a zinnia growing right now. Another giant zinnia. I've spread those zinnia seeds everywhere. So eventually there's going to be a lot of zinnias growing in here. But, now, okay, so that is a Brussels sprout plant right there. That's a 1.5 years old, people. I planted it a 1.5 years ago. What on earth? It's still going. And it's not giving me any Brussels sprouts, and I don't think it's going to. But again, it's the same thing as over there. This is becoming an education for me to see what it will do and how long it will last and what kind of weather it will take. I do want to point out this thing right here, though. You see this? What is that, people? There's 3, there's 4, there's 5 of them in here. If you guessed garlic, you're right. This was a garlic bed. Winter before, well, last winter, a year ago, I planted these. And this was different kinds of garlic. We'll find out if this is a hardneck or a softneck because I planted a little bit of both. The hardneck will have a scape coming up. I'm going to let them go. Now, we actually have a lot of garlic preserved from that harvest, and I've stuck them in vacuum-sealed mason jars, and they're in the freezer. So we'll have to see how that goes. We were told by someone that that's how they store. Oh, Becky over at Acre Homestead, she says just stick them in the freezer. They will stay long enough, and so that's what what we've tried, and we might even get some fresh garlic here in I don't know, 6-8 months. Come May or June, we'll let these go until they die. Oh, one thing I do want to do. Sun is just about to go down over my neighbor's house. So I mentioned Jess Sowards over at Roots and Refuge, and when I mention channels on here, these are channels that I find to be very reputable, very helpful, good, positive people that you can just learn so much from. In fact, Jess Sowards was the first person I learned how to grow tomatoes and how to propagate tomatoes from back 5.5 years ago now, I think. I saw, in fact, the videos that I saw are actually on the front page of my YouTube channel. You can scroll down on the Bowtie Life page on YouTube, and you can see there's some tomatoes, and that's her. And those are the first videos I saw that taught me how to grow tomatoes. Anyway, one of the things that I frequently hear her say is, if something is going to work this hard to continue to grow, to continue to live, to struggle and fight and actually become something in the garden, it deserves to live. And I really do believe that. I agree with her on that so much. But and whenever I do mention other channels like that, please know that they are just great places. And if you are looking for other places to learn from, definitely try these other channels out. I normally try to get them all linked in the description. Occasionally I'll put them in the cards in the upper right hand corner, but they'll always be linked in the, especially in the index in the description here. Oh, see, the sun's just gone away. Anyway, so one of the things that garlic likes is it likes food. It likes to be fed, and it can help it grow a better bulb if it is well fed. And so I have here a leftover of a bag of Dr. Earth's homegrown, organic, and natural handcrafted blend tomato, vegetable, and herb fertilizer. Now, that's a big fancy name to say this is some fertilizer, okay? I got this at Lowe's. I actually have, I've got my first bag at Lowe's. These big bags I actually ordered online from Amazon, I think, but it is organic. I did like that. The 463 on here, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's the quantities that are in here. Now, that's not the only things that are in here. If you look at the back, there's a whole bunch of other minerals that are important for plants, but these are the 3 macronutrients that they count the most. So this is, I don't know, 4%, 6%, 3% of available nitrogen, phosphate, and potash. So, potassium. Anyway, so 463. Now, if I was growing tomatoes, like the tomatoes you saw earlier and these that you're about to see, they're already starting to put on fruit. The way these 3 numbers work, nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, they support the growth of shoots, roots, and fruits. Now, I first heard this on Ripe Tomato Farms years ago, and then Brian Lowell in his book about companion planting. Great book. It's the only reference that I use. In fact, Chad over at Down Home Backyard Gardening just did a short on it. It's a great book. Anyway, they all talk about these same combinations: the shoots, roots, and fruits. Right now, with these garlic, I mainly want roots to develop, so it's going to develop a strong plant. I don't care as much, and you see the shoots, fruits, the last number, the fruits, is lower. I'm not trying to make flowers. I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in right now roots, and then shoots, the leaves. I want the green to come up. So between these two, we're going to be developing the green that's going to start collecting the energy, and the roots that's going to start developing the bulb in about 4 or 5 months. So I like this particular stuff. Later, when a plant gets to the way the tomatoes is that you're about to look at, where there's actually fruit on it, that has a higher last number on it, and that's by design. But that's for another lesson. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a cup of this, and this is all natural, slow release stuff. Now, I say it's slow release, people. There is stuff available right now in here. So it's going to start feeding it right now, and it's going to continue feeding it over the next 3 months. It's going to have a really nice boost. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little, pull back the leaves, and give it some food. Now the irrigation is going to take over here. It's going to spread it in. It's going to dissolve it. It's going to put it more into the ground. Woo! So that's what we need to do to help something that wants to fight to survive. Just let it keep going. And so if it's going to fight that hard to get there, I'll give it every chance I can give it. So that's all. I just want to give it every chance. So from a few random garlic left over in that bed to the very next bed, yeah, we even have more basil, which is really kind of funny because I killed so many basil plants this year. It's laughable, people. Yeah, very laughable. This thing is still going though. Look at it. It's starting to look a little peaked, but it is. Oh boy, that smells so good. Smell that. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. All right, so anyway, come down to the end of bed number 3 here, and we are looking at the tomato trellis. This is the one that over on the other side here is where it had Supersweet 100s. Well, it has a few more Supersweet 100s in here. And there is actually one over here. This one right here on the end. In fact, let me zoom out just a little better. This one here on the end. This is not a Supersweet 100. This is a Nebraska wedding. And I don't know if we're going to get any. I don't suspect we will, but it's one of those things. Live and let live. You know. Here we go. These are Supersweet 100 tomatoes right here, though. Supersweet 100 is a hybrid tomato. You can buy seeds for it, and you can buy them from bonnet plants at your local big box store. They're wonderful, very prolifically producing, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm looking at 25. Oh, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Looky. First red on one of these. Oh, that right there is nothing short of exciting. I'm going to take a picture of that if I can get it to focus. Come on there. Focus on the tomato. There we go. Oh, that might be have to be in the thumbnail for this video. Oh, that's very exciting. I am so thrilled to see a red on a tomato, because this is, folks, November 20th. We're going to finally get tomatoes. I'm looking at 100 tomatoes here, right on this plant. So Supersweet 100 is a fantastic producer. It does wonderful. This year has been so much heat. It hasn't done well. And I had the shade cloth. I think I had too much shade cloth on here. It was just one thing after another. Oh, I've got all kinds of excuses, people. Oh, here we go. There's some beans. Looky there. They're still a little small, but there's half a dozen beans right there we can add to our dinner. Oh, there's a nice bean right there. Oh, sweet. Okay. Sorry, that was back at bed number 2. Anyway, the tomatoes, we're about to start getting tomatoes. We should still have another month or 2 to get tomatoes off this thing, depending on when our first frost is. Up top you can see, and we're going to talk about the mistakes I made with these Luffa. That's Luffa up there on top of the shade cloth, folk. Oh, lordy day. Coming down here to the Goji berries. These things are actually starting to produce. I don't remember them producing this prolifically this late in the season, but there they are, and there's a lot of them on there. These things have a... Okay, so someone was discussing in the last video with me, and they're kind of like the consistency of a tomato. The first 1 or 2 that you eat have a little bit different, a little bit of a kick to it. That's not tomato-like, but after you eat a few, they taste just like tomatoes. You kind of get used to the taste. It was accepted for many years that these things were a superfood. I think they've pretty much decided they're not, but some people still swear by goji berries and their youthful looks. It was very common in Asian cultures to eat goji berries every day. This bush has produced better. You see there's a lot of dead branches in here. I forgot to take care of this year. It's here. The couch is new. It's here stuck behind the couch. I never got to it this year, and so it kind of went by the wayside. And didn't do as well this year, but I do have 2 of them here now. This one over here has been propagated from this one just by taking one of these branches and sticking it in the ground over there, just like those blackberries. So I actually have another plant here now, and of course there's another one off on the other side. Oh no, where is it? Yeah, it's off on the other side over there. So that of course brings us down to pretty close to the end here. Those Peppadew are awesome. I think we're going to stuff some of those for home group also. We tried them out for some other company, some guinea pigs Saturday night. We're going to try them out some more. But yeah, the garden's looking good. It's green. It's got a lot of bad stuff growing in it, a lot of weeds. I'm letting them go as cover crops. They're there. They're going to continue to grow. I'm not going to mess with it. It's just easier that way. They're very easy to pull out. So there is I did notice a sago palm trying to come back out over here next to the garlic. You can rewind the video and see that. I got to get those root growth nodes out from in the ground on those. But so we're coming down to it, and within the next month, I don't know if we're going to have a frost before the next garden tour. We'll have to see. Sometimes it happens as soon as middle of December. The average first frost for us is like late November. I've never seen it that early. The earliest I've ever seen it is December 15th, somewhere around there. And some winters we don't even get a frost. So we don't know quite what's going to happen until it happens. And so we're starting to get some good cold fronts. We'll have to see what happens with the cold fronts. That'll determine how much we get. So that's the garden. Appreciate you coming along. You are so invited to continue watching and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the future garden tours. I do this every single month. It's a very incremental development. I like to go through it like this because, again, it's my journal, and I can go back and I can see exactly where it was this time of year, that time of year. I can see all the way through where everything was and how it happened. There's a mosquito on my camera trying to sting it. Anyway, yeah, we've got mosquitoes out. I've got to get the mint and the citronella going strong this next winter so that we can have a lot of it around the garden. It really helped, and this past year I kind of let the mint go by the wayside, and so I don't have nearly as much as I normally would. The basil helps a little bit, but I don't have enough of it. In case you weren't here for it, I killed a lot of basil this year. Lots of basil. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up right now, and appreciate you joining along. Again, those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. You've made Bowtie Life what it is today. Y'all have a blessed day.